Motion's on adoption. Will you remark, sir?
Thank you, Madam President. What this would do would be to remove from a previous bond allocation funds for a shooting range for the state police. This is not by any stretch an anti-police move by me. I am very pro-police. I respect greatly what they do to protect the rest of us each and every day. I'm ranking member on the Public Safety Committee by choice. It was a committee that I wanted to be a part of when I first came to the General Assembly, and it wasn't available. But as soon as it became available through the retirement of another state senator, I asked for it and received it because I'm very interested in those issues. I enjoy, every once in a while, the troopers in my area. Once a month they meet, retired troopers, and they have breakfast at a local restaurant in Vernon, and they invite me usually, and I love to go. It's fun. I mean, they tell the war stories, and you know, they're some of the finest men and women that I know. But I just feel as though this particular range that they're requesting is not needed. In a way, these two amendments are not so far apart, the one I just did and the one I'm doing now. One was a want and one's a need. Those are the two differences. The foundation ones, that amendment's a need, absolutely going to be a need. Maybe it is premature, and that's what this body decided, and I accept that. But what I'm talking about now is a want. It's not required. We've done a tremendous amount of research on this. Every place that this range has, the state police have tried to place it, has met heavy and fierce resistance. Wellington, East Windsor, Sprague, Canterbury, Hampton. And it's not totally not in my backyard. It's not totally that. Obviously, there's some of that. But this is a problem. In fact, I'll tell you the truth. In the beginning, I was a little queasy about doing this myself because, you know, it's something that was in my district. But I kind of had the feeling that maybe this is a not in my backyard thing. But I'm there to represent the people that sent me here, and so I was moving ahead with it. But as I researched it more and more, and people on staff researched it, I was surprised to find out they actually don't need this. The range, they have two viable options. Probably more. There actually are quite a few ranges available to them. The state of Connecticut has about 7 or 8 ranges within the state of Connecticut, some for corrections, some at the sub-base, which the state of Connecticut is invested in. But there's 2 right now, one in Simsbury. The rationale, that's their current range for leaving Simsbury, is that it has a flooding problem. That is partially true. It has flooded. It's flooded twice in a serious way since 2009, and that was during major storms. After a week, 10 days, the water recedes. They're back in business. Their other option, which I think is even more appealing, is East Haven. And some of us on the Public Safety Committee were down there. We took a tour of the East Haven facility. I've been down there twice. It's a National Guard facility. It is state-of-the-art, designed by folks who design for the military ranges all around the world. They fired 1 million simulated rounds on this range before completing it, not one strayed from the facility. State-of-the-art. Baffled. Very few complaints from the neighbors about noise because of the baffling that they've done the great job. The National Guard has capacity to handle the state police. There's only 1,100 troopers. There's 220 days available to the Connecticut State Troopers to shoot at that range. 220 for 1,100. It's just a tiny scheduling problem. Representative Joe Courtney, U.S. Representative Courtney, has taken a really strong stand on this, and we've worked together on it. He sent a letter to the Public Safety Committee stating that he thought that this range in East Haven was perfectly acceptable. In fact, Representative Courtney was instrumental in getting that range in East Haven in 2008 with federal funds, about $12 million worth of federal funds. So, you know, we have two options available. But when we went out to the range, we went out and we had the Commissioner of Public Safety, along with some folks from the Department of Administrative Services, along with the National Guard, and we surveyed the range. State Police indicates that their problem with the range is just not suitable. Well, the problem I have with that is that the FBI qualifies some of their agents there. Now, the FBI is one of the finest law enforcement agencies in the world, and they find the facility adequate. Another factor which I think is really something we ought to be considering, you know, sometimes around here, and we all know this, we don't plan. We just react. Here's an opportunity for us to plan. The Base Relocation and Alignment Commission, BRAC, that a lot of you have heard about, hasn't really convened in a long time. It's been put off by Congress. They've had studies of what they need to do, but they haven't moved ahead with actual closing. We did have, in 2005, as some of you will remember, we lost the Warthog planes up at Bradley. We were lucky enough that we got some cargo planes that the Air Force put in place there. So we actually were able to maintain the facility. So this is a case of the state and federal government planning and working together. Imagine that. That we wouldn't work in these little silos. We're actually going to work together. And Congressman Courtney, to his credit, has pushed this. He's gone out on a limb. He sent a letter to the Commissioner of the Department of Administrative Services explaining the BRAC problem that is going to be coming up. It's not if it's going to come up, it's when it's going to come up. They're going to, in the studies done by Congress, they found that the Marine Corps and the U.S. Navy are about 7% over capacity with their facilities. The Army, however, is 33% over capacity with their facilities. And this particular facility in East Haven is 60% over capacity because they have 220 days of unused time. That is going to be low-hanging fruit for the BRAC Commission. And that's what Congressman Courtney's trying to prevent. If the National Guard is using that range and there's coordination between the state and federal government, the BRAC Commission is going to look more favorably on leaving that range where it is. So by every measure, in my opinion anyway, they do not need a new range. And then another factor is they're talking about $7 million for this range. That's what they're talking about. No way. 55,000 square feet, 125 parking places. They have to buy the land. They have to build a road. That's not possible. It's $7 million. The range in East Haven alone, just the range was $12 million, and that was 2008. I estimate it would be probably $21 million. So at a time when we're laying off my constituents in my district and all around the state, when we're cutting social services, when we're hammering hospitals, when we're hammering municipalities, we're going to go ahead and spend money on a want and not a need. And I'll tell you one thing that surprised me in my discussion, and then I'll sit down. A lot of folks don't realize that most troopers are not supplied long guns or shotguns by the state police. That's right, they buy their own. How about that? State police have to buy their own weapons at a time when we've got terrorist threats to defend themselves. 400 troopers have done that. The others have not. You're talking about a situation, if the one that happened with the Boston Marathon, they'd be outgunned. And plus, there's no uniformity of weapons when each person goes out and buys their own. And they also the state has stalled the order of cars for the state police. So I would say if you went to rank and file troopers and you asked them if they want a Taj Mahal clubhouse or they want a long gun and a shotgun and a better vehicle, I think they're going to vote for the latter. So at this point, it's late in the day. I know how the vote's going to go. I'm going to withdraw the amendment, but I did want to make the case in front of this body. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you remark?